What's going on, everyone? My name is Harrison Vapnek, college football analyst here at TWSN. Before we get into the crazy second set of rankings from the College Football Playoff Committee, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to the TWSN YouTube channel. Follow our social medias on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook for all the best content on TWSN. They got the College Football Playoff race heating up. The NFL regular season has been excellent so far. College basketball started tonight. The NBA is getting rolling. The NHL is getting rolling. We got coverage on that and so much more. Follow along and also subscribe to our TWSN Patreon. Follow our best bets in college football, college basketball, NBA, NHL, NFL. Been hitting on so many of our parlays. UFC also last week, and we had a lot of big winners there. What are you waiting for? Subscribe, make some money, join the TWSN Patreon. Now to the crazy college football playoff rankings of week number 2. Here we go. Rankings are up just like last week. We got the sticky notes, some notes to look at as this rankings goes on, some discussion points. Where else to get started from then in the top? Georgia, number 1, big win against Missouri, stay up there. Alabama and Oregon at 2 and 3. Oregon was 4 last week. Bama was 2. Bama struggling performance against a 4-4 LSU team. The Tide, they stay up there. Makes sense. They have a better loss than Oregon, if that makes sense. They lost to Texas A&M, who's number 11 in this week's rankings. Oregon, I don't think the only win they have in these rankings are against the number 4 team in the country behind them. So Oregon has a better win, but they lost to Stanford, who's not in the rankings. The only other Pac-12 team that's ranked is Utah, which is number 24 in the country right now, who Oregon is yet to play. They go to Salt Lake City, not this week, but the week after. So that's another chance for Oregon to get a win against a top 25 team. Oregon, Bama will be close at the end, who's 2 and 3. The Ducks just have to keep winning. They'll make the playoff. Bama, they have to play Georgia in the SEC championship if they can get there. Ohio State at 4. No issue with them staying in the top 4. Didn't play a perfect game against Nebraska, but who in the top 10 did play a perfect game last week, other than probably Georgia. I like the committee keeping them there. Cincinnati at 5. Let me have a sip of water before I even get into this, because this could take a little bit. The Cincinnati Bearcats, man. And I feel like every show I've gone on the last 2 weeks, I have the same rant, but I feel like I have to have it one more time. Cincinnati needed basically a red zone stand against Tulsa, and they had the game won. And then their quarterback fumbled the ball, and they needed another goal line stand to beat 3-5 Tulsa. And they move up a spot. I don't get it. This team, if there were no rankings at all with these teams associated with these teams, if there was no emotions, no rankings with anything, and you watch what Cincinnati's done in the last month of the college football season, since the second half of the Central Florida game, are they a top 5 team in anyone's mind? Because certainly not in mine, because what Cincinnati has done since their very impressive win at South Bend against Notre Dame, who is the number 9 team in these rankings, this is what they've done. They beat Temple at home 52-3, which they should be doing every week against an American schedule. Had a good first half against Central Florida, bad second half. They won 56-21. Scores isn't as big as the margin was. Bad game against Navy, 27-20. They edged them out on the road. Navy has 3 wins this year. Bad game against Tulane, 31-12. Score was close to the game indicates. Goal line standing against Tulsa, 28-20. This isn't a top 5 team in my mind. I don't think they're going to win the conference. I have Houston. If I were to bet on right now, someone's winning the American, I would pick Houston. Cincinnati continue to be unimpressed with them week to week. They had huge favorite. They had college game day at their home stadium. They had everything going for them, and they still needed a last-second win against a bad Tulsa team. Cincinnati, they go to South Florida on Friday. I think that game could be closer than the experts think. Still not sold on them. Not sure what the committee saw. Oh, yeah, let's move them up a spot, because it doesn't make sense in my mind. In my rankings this week, I think I had them at 7 or 8. I had them dropping a little bit. I don't get it with them. Maybe I'm a hater of the group of 5 teams, but come on, Cincinnati, 5th best team in the country. And somehow that wasn't even the craziest thing the committee did tonight. I'll have another sip of water before I get into this. Michigan and Michigan State, man. I know I'm young and I do the show for TWSN. I'm still technically like a kid in, these minds, but I'm not, I am old enough. In fact, I am old enough to remember when Michigan State beat Michigan a whole 10 days ago. It's crazy, but I go back and I think I vividly remember Michigan State beating Michigan, but somehow the committee doesn't remember. I want to apologize to you guys. I lied last week. I don't know why I said this. I went on the show and I told you, I flat out lied to you. I said that the committee cares about head-to-head. from the bottom of my heart, I sincerely apologize because I lied. I was wrong. The committee doesn't care about head to head. I'm surprised they still have Oregon ahead of Ohio State. Has the committee not forgotten about that game? I know that game was in the beginning of September. Clearly they remember that one, because I'm surprised they don't have Oregon at 4 and Ohio State at 3. But no, Michigan State a whole 10 days ago is an eternity ago for the committee. Like, if we're not basing off head to head, what are we basing it off of? Like, who has the better win or the better loss? Because here's a crazy stat. You know how many wins Michigan has against the current top 25? 1. Do you know how many wins Michigan State has against the current top 25? 1. Do you know how many losses Michigan State has to a team in the top 25? 1. Do you know how many losses Michigan has in the top 25? 1. Michigan lost to Michigan State. Michigan State lost to Purdue, who's number 19 in the country, I believe, this week. Yeah, 19. No one can explain to me and give me a valid reason why Michigan is ahead of Michigan State. What Barta, the chairman of the college football playoff, who I respect, and he's saying Michigan looks like the more well-rounded football team. Did he not watch the game that was played 10 days ago? Was he watching the basketball game tonight where Michigan State was playing the University of Kansas at Madison Square Garden? Maybe they were watching the wrong Michigan State team, because that Michigan State lost by double digits to Kansas tonight in basketball. Like, I'm just not, are we ranking the basketball teams? Because I think Michigan is one of the better teams in the country. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand what the committee sees. Michigan's best win is against, like, Wisconsin, which came in September. Oh, the committee hasn't forgotten about that one then, because Wisconsin's playing some of the best football now. So maybe the committee is trying to notch up Wisconsin a little bit. Like, what else do they want from Michigan State? It was a trap game on the road. I know Purdue beat them by 11. I want to say 40-29, but Purdue also beat Iowa, who's number 20. So it's clearly not hurting their stance in the playoff rankings. Purdue's only one spot ahead of Iowa. It's just this Michigan and Michigan State is the most odd decision the committee has ever made in there. I think this is the 7th year now of playoff rankings, 7th or 8th. This is the wildest decision they have ever made, a decision that makes no sense. Are they going to make it up for next week? Are they going to realize, oh, we really messed up on this one? Like, if they go back next week and Michigan State's ahead of Michigan, then it's clearly the committee admitting that they were wrong. Michigan this week is at Penn State, who's I thought should be in the top 25. They're not. Michigan State this week is hosting Maryland. They're a double-digit favorite. They should win that game. Both teams should win those games. They should say the same. And if Michigan struggles with Penn State, why is the committee going to move them down? I know I've spent a lot of times on this, but it is a crazy, crazy decision that the committee just made, putting Michigan ahead of Michigan State and deprioritizing what they believe in. Oklahoma at 8, I thought they were a little higher. In my rankings, I had Oklahoma ahead of Cincinnati, but, you know, Cincinnati plays close games with Navy, Tulane, and Tulsa. You know, give them credit for that. Oklahoma's playing in the Big 12, which is a real college football conference. Notre Dame at 9, that's right where they should be. They're playing some of their better football right now. It's hard to move ahead of teams. They're on the spot. Oklahoma State at 10. They're still in it. They are still in the race, especially with Baylor losing the other day to TCU. Oklahoma State had an impressive win at West Virginia. They got TCU on Saturday at home. They're a 13-point favorite. They should win that. They go on the road to Texas Tech. They should win that. And they'll play Oklahoma at home for the Big 12 regular season title and probably play them in a rematch for the conference title. So Oklahoma State, a one-loss Big 12 champion, probably doesn't get in, but it doesn't eliminate you, is what I should say. So keep playing good football. Texas A&M at 11. Right where they should be. They're playing some of their best football. Big win at home against Auburn. I didn't think they would win it. They did. Good job. They will play Ole Miss, who's number 15 at home on the road on Saturday. Wake Forest lost to North Carolina, shootout game. They only fell a couple spots. I think Wake Forest was 9 last week, somewhere around there. They fall 3 spots. They lost by 3 points. I didn't think they should be any lower than that. Baylor should be lower. They lost to TCU. Like, they've lost to TCU and Oklahoma State. They don't have really too many impressive wins, except for the team that's right behind them, BYU, who had 14. BYU's lost a couple of weird games. Like, if they would have, I think they lost to Arizona State, I believe, earlier in the year. No, they lost at home to Boise State. I forgot about that. They lost home to Boise State, lost at Baylor. Though they're the only losses. They actually have some pretty good wins. They beat Washington State. They beat Virginia, who's giving Notre Dame a tough test on Saturday. BYU at 14. Ole Miss, just talk about them. They had a nice win against Liberty at home. NC State 16, fine with that. Auburn should be a little lower than 17. I put that down on my notes. Bad performance against Texas A&M. I do not think they're better than Wisconsin. I'm not sure they're better than Purdue. I'm not sure they're better than Iowa. Pittsburgh, maybe. But Auburn, I know they have some good wins. I know they beat some teams in the current top 25, including, let's go through their schedule. They lost by double digits to Georgia. That's one of their only losses. They beat Ole Miss by 11, who's a couple spots ahead. So I guess that's their big win. They lost to Penn State on the road early in the year. Remember that game? They beat Arkansas, I guess, who's number 25. So I guess they have a few wins in the top 25. So Wisconsin, 18, playing their best football. They are in the driver's seat, I think, to win that Big Ten West, especially after Minnesota got upset by Illinois. I think I cursed Minnesota on this show. And I said when they were ranked 20 last week, I'm like, keep an eye out on the Gophers. Keep an eye out on them losing at home to Illinois. Like, how does that let happen by PJ Fleck? Like, come on. Like, they were so close to making their conference championship for the first time in program history. Wisconsin playing some of their best football right now. They got 3 more games. Northwestern, Nebraska, Minnesota should win all 3. Get back to Indianapolis, play Ohio State, Michigan, or Michigan State for the Big Ten title. Purdue, talked a lot about them. Big win against Michigan State. Congratulations to them. Iowa, bad performance against Northwestern. Like, I know they're 7-2, but that's not a good football team. They should have lost to Penn State. If Sean Clifford stays healthy, Iowa loses that game, and they're not even close to this top 25. Pitt at 21. It moved up a couple spots. They lost to Miami a couple weeks ago. Floating around, they'll probably win that division. And they had a nice win against Duke, but, it's Duke football. Not much to say there. San Diego State at 22. Okay. UTSA, congratulations. They're ranked 23, 9-0 season, having the best year in program history. I know Kevin Redfield for TWSN made an excellent video about them. Go check that out. Utah at 24, my preseason Pac-12 champions. Climb the mountain. They're up there. I know they had a slow start to the year, had some unfortunate tragedy that happened in the program early in the year. They've really bounced back, playing their best football they have all year. Nice win at Stanford. They go to Arizona on Saturday. Big favorites there. Then they get Oregon at home, a game I cannot wait for. I think Utah can pull off that upset and then play them possibly again in the Pac-12 championship. Arkansas at 25. Remember when Mississippi State was ranked? Yeah, I picked Arkansas to win that game against number 17 Mississippi State in the committee's eyes. Committee was wrong there. Harrison was right there. Point for me. Team in the top 25 that should be. Where is Houston? I think Houston can beat Cincinnati. I have no idea what they're not doing in this rankings. I think they're better than 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, maybe 20 and 19. Like, their only loss is the first game of the year in a neutral site to Texas Tech, who's not an awful team. Like, they're a decent, Big 12 squad, but come on, Houston. Like, are we hurting? Is Houston's resume being hurt because they played a close game against South Florida? They won by, I believe, 12 points. They were 13-point favorites, if you want to call that close. Like, why aren't we punishing them? Or if we're punishing them for playing close games with American teams, why are we not punishing Cincinnati for playing close games with American teams? Isn't it crazy how that works? Because Houston, they barely beat SMU. They played a close-ish game with Central Florida or South Florida. That is, they should be hurt by that. Just like Cincinnati. Oh wait, Cincinnati's not. It doesn't say consistent. Houston should be a top 20 team in the country. They're not. Some of the AP top 25 teams that are ranked in the playoff committee. Coastal Carolina's 8-1. They're not ranked. I'm no issue with that. Penn State, I think, should be ranked in the maybe 23, 24, 25 spot. They're not. Louisiana, no issue with them not being ranked. Houston, the AP poll, 17. Like, come on. Baylor is 18 in the AP poll. They're really high in the college football playoff poll. NC State, we mentioned, isn't ranked in both. Purdue is not ranked in the AP top 25. They're number 19 in the college football playoff poll. Pretty crazy stuff there. Back to the top one more time. There are still, I want to say 11, 12 teams. Wake Forest, I wouldn't eliminate quite yet. 12 teams that can still make the college football playoff. Texas A&M still in it because they can still win the SEC West. If they win out and Auburn beats Alabama, then they can get the tiebreak and go to Atlanta. Somehow if they beat Georgia, they're in the playoff in my mind. So still 12 teams with 3 weeks in the regular season to go. Then we get conference championships. Then the committee releases a Final Four. So a lot of teams still in play. Georgia's in the driver's seat. Alabama's got some work to do. Oregon still has to beat Utah a couple times. Ohio State has still to play the number 6 and 17 in the country. Michigan ahead of Michigan State, man. That was the big talking point today. There's nothing like the playoff discussion. There's nothing like this. There's nothing more fun than this. Cincinnati got let off the hook. I could have gone 20 minutes on Cincinnati if Michigan State was higher than Michigan, but it gave me more time. So Cincinnati fans, I guess you'll have to turn to the next show I'm in on before I, discredit the program. So good luck there. I'm on TWSN Tailgate on Saturday, talk with Matt Levine, Anthony Nervasio, previewing the next week college football. I'll be back doing these rankings next Tuesday night. Have a great week, everybody. Subscribe to TWSN social medias, and we'll see you next time on the TWSN YouTube. See you guys.